Hello, everyone. Welcome inside the Red Earth Production Studios for another edition, actually a special edition of YBMcast. Today, we got our GAC preview working, and in the studio, we have from Francis, Howell Central, the Spartans, Coach Nick Beckmann. Coach?
Good to be here. Good to be here.
Thank you for taking the time, man. Come in the studio. We had you last year. Really enjoyed that. I thought you had a great run. District champs.
Yeah.
You know, that was District 3, correct? Mm-hmm. District 3 champs. Mm-hmm. I don't think a lot of people picked you to beat SLU.
I don't think you guys did you?
No, we didn't.
We know.
We didn't.
Yeah, no, they SLU had some legit arms, so they were a tough one. That was a good 1-0 game.
Yeah. Rubel pitched very well for you last year, didn't he?
Yeah. He stepped in, when Lane came out and couldn't return, which we expected. We had Fernley and Ello coming back, but we needed somebody to really, be that number one. And he took that. He pitched all of our big games, and so his record didn't always, showcase it, but he kind of competes real well. He wants to win, and going into that game, we kind of had it set up. We knew Henthorne would start the first one, and then go with Ello and see how far. And Hazelwood West gave us all we could handle in that semifinal, but and Fernley came in that game, so we didn't have Ello or Fernley ready to go for that Friday game because of pitch count, but. Rubes took the ball and I think he threw 102 pitches and 97 fastballs. I mean, he shoved. He touched 89 or 88 that game, and from the left side, and he was a dog. They had one guy reach second, and he shut it on him. So it was good. We expect a lot out of him this year. And
I like that young man over there, Tyler Whitworth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
mm-hmm. They were good. Scotty has a good game, a good team over there.
Yeah.
And to be honest, we got a little lucky. We, going in the bottom of the seventh, down one, they actually had a double in the top of the seventh, and they had a guy miss third, and our assistant, Coach Bunton, kind of, he saw it, and we appealed it. The third base ump saw it, and so we got pretty lucky. And then, a base hit or a walk, a base hit, and then, we got the bunt down. Hendo got the bunt down, and putting pressure on teams in those games. It has its effects, and the guy threw it down the right field line, and we went from what I was expecting, just second and third, give us a chance to playing on Friday. So, and then Rubel went out, and he faced Garrett Shearer, who's a good arm for them, and it was a real good game. It was intense. So.
Yeah. I love that, man. Yeah. That's good stuff. You finished the year 23-14 overall. You were 4-6 in the GAC. I know there was some really tight games just in your conference play. I mean, some of those could have gone either way for you.
Yeah.
You could have been 6-4 easily, just as easy. District 3 champs, we said. You got 10 returning seniors, Coach.
Yeah.
Which is always a positive, right?
Yeah. Well, especially, guys who have now been in the program for a couple of years, when you come in and try to set a culture, that first year, second year even, it's kind of, hit and miss. And now I feel like third year, everything's, running smoothly. Expectations are what they are. And our seniors know those, and they've done a really good job early on trying to, setting those for everybody else coming through. So I feel like we have our culture in place.
I'm going to flip this a little bit because I usually save some of these things for after we talk about all this. But you brought that up, and it's curious because, as you said, this is your third year. You've had 2, right? And building that culture, setting that culture, your freshman JV coaches, how are you establishing that? How are you working with them, and how is that taking effect as you're seeing now in your third year?
Well, one of the things that I pride, we pride ourselves on is having the same group in place, and this will be the third year with the same core coaches, and so we don't have that transition happening. Mike Bunton runs our JV program, and I feel like he does a really good job of taking what we say, the words we use, and pushing it out there for his JV. So when they come into varsity, they know what's the expectation. But I think culture is really, you can say you have it and everything, but I think it's really led by the players. And when the players have that buy-in, I think it carries on down, because, if I come out here and I say I want this, this, and this, it's one thing. But if the seniors are telling the sophomores and freshmen, hey, this is how it's done around here, and these are the expectations, and they carry themselves in the right way, I feel like that carries a lot more weight than the 40-year-old coach telling you this is how you do things. So, and I just
they hear it from the coach first, and then the players.
Their
leadership is there saying the same things. They're like, yeah, it must be good.
Well, our leader. I mean, our captain. Last year was Hendo. He's obviously going to be our captain this year. And I'll put his leadership ability up against anybody at that age. I mean, he's just a special kid that does things the right way on and off the field. Might be the most respected high school athlete around for what he does on the football field, on the mat in wrestling, and then in baseball. He just carries. I always tell people this kid's just built different. He just really is. He's built different. He's a 4.5 GPA kid. He is a high school
That's
role
Aiden
model.
Hernandez, right?
Aiden Hernandez. Yeah.
That's awesome. You gotta, and when you have a kid like that sets that standard, that just helps the overall program, doesn't it, Coach?
Yeah. I mean, I told him last year, this is your team, and he just does things the right way. He's not very vocal about it, but he knows when to say something, and then a lot of times it's just actions. Right. If you're having a down practice and you look out, he's still 100%. In fact, a lot of times he's the kid you have to kind of pull back and say, hey, we need you for every game. So he catches. So it's a position that's very demanding, but in BP he's out there taking ground balls at second, just having a good time, and it just sets that you talk about culture. That's the culture. You come out to our practices and watch; it's high tempo, high pace, and he kind of leads the charge on that.
That's awesome. I always tell everybody this. I'm an old Dodger guy, Tommy Lasorda. I always start with pitching and defense, and then you hit a bomb and you win, right?
Yeah. Hopefully we have some bombs this year.
And so pitching, of course, we've already, Rubel. I understand, like you said, his record didn't really reflect how well he pitched, and really it was the end of the year. He had a lot of success.
Well, and in the GAC, you go ace versus ace. So he runs up against Whistler, I think it was. He ran up against Naputi. I mean, those are tough things.
Yeah,
so his record doesn't really indicate it. He pitched against CBC early on in the year when, before all their injuries, they were the top state contender. So he's the guy that wants the ball in those situations.
Right.
He had a tough luck against Howell in the conference where he went 7 innings and we lost 1-0. He left a changeup up to Norfleet, and Norfleet went oppo on him. And other than that, he shoved. Yeah. And so it's like those types of things but he's also mentally he's confident in himself. So
yeah, and then. Of course, Lane Harris coming back off an injury. I've talked with Scott, and I try to stay away from that subject too much, but he's talked about his son. Of course, it's the rehab's done well. Where do you see Lane this year?
Hopefully he's at the top of the rotation, but right now, and I've talked to him, he's number 2. And I like the competition within ourselves.
Yeah.
And Lane's a competitive person, and so right now, game 1, like if it's a 1 game, we go Rubel, and until that's proven otherwise, I think Rubel's earned that right. And Lane's the type of kid that's going to come in and say, well, I want the ball in that game, so I'm gonna prove to you. He's done a ton of work for his rehab.
Yeah.
We've seen him. I saw him pitch over the summer. If we're out of town in the same spot, I'd head on over and watch him. And, it was really just getting back into it. I know he has some struggles with the rehab, with any shoulder injury. There's ups and downs, and I think he would tell you mentally it's been more challenging than anything. And you go back to hearing about Chris Carpenter. Yeah. Same thing. It's the mental grind over and over because he was at the top. I mean, his stock his sophomore year was just through the roof, and then to have a devastating, it's almost 18 months now, or it's over 18 months, and he hasn't pitched to where he knows where he can be. But he's throwing bullpens that are they look like sophomore Lane Harris, and with a little bit more weight behind them. And so we're expecting him to come in, and a lot of it does ride on where he is, because if he can be at the top, that means we can slide our depth back down, for our Saturday guys with Henthorn was one of our top. I mean, we threw him out there Saturday, and he was unbelievable. He's a kid that's not going to overpower you, but he throws 3 pitches, and he can throw them from strikes, so he'll keep you in the game. And the defense, and we pride ourselves on defense. We spend a lot of time on it. And so if Lane can be there, and we can go Lane 1, Rubel 2, or Lane or Rubel 1, Lane 2, then we can slide everybody else down, and we'll put those up against some people.
If Lane Harris is your number 2, I think you're okay.
That's the way we look at things.
Yeah,
and those two,
absolutely.
with Braden and Lane, are going to push each other this year and compete.
Love that, right?
100%.
Oh my gosh! And the Henthorn, I saw him pitch a little bit, I think, against DeSmet. And that was a good game. His ERA was .78, a lot of non-conference stuff. I mean, that's according to the St. Louis. That's where I get a lot of my
2.7. I think 2.78.
2.78.
Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah, I wish it was .78.
I don't have my glasses, so it was
a
little blurry. My fault.
I'd be saying he'd be up at the top.
2.78.
That's still for a sophomore left-hander, and Benny's he's the kid that's you're going to go 0 for 4 against him and come back and go, oh, that guy wasn't that good. But he did that over, and as a sophomore, it's really just he keeps you off balance, and then all of a sudden he throws a fastball, and you're like, oh, where'd that come from? But he did it. He did it on Saturday. He was our Saturday guy. Yeah. He did it every Saturday, where you walk out there and it's like, oh, in those Saturday games, non-conference, a little different. But he comes out there, and it's like all of a sudden it's the 4th or 5th inning, and they have 2 hits, and everybody's going, well, how can we not hit this guy? But it's because he keeps you off balance. And when in this day and age of, you watch a kid's video and it's like, oh, he in a max effort 86, and everybody's like, oh, he throws 86. Well, I mean, not in a game. And can he throw 3 pitches? And hitters will tell you throw a fastball 88, I'll hit that. But if you throw 3 pitches, and I have to get, that type of stuff keeps me off balance. So he does a really good job. He's really, really smart too. So we're looking for him.
If Coach, if you can manipulate and get a 4-seam, a 2-seam fastball that really work, a changeup or a slider, I mean, you can be an effective high school pitcher.
Oh, you're going to get outs all day.
Right.
If you can throw, in high school, if you can throw 2 pitches for strikes.
Right.
It's just throwing them for strikes and keeping them, and then you throw in that 3rd pitch, and one of the most effective high school pitches is that changeup, because everybody wants to get swing and misses and stuff like that, but those roll over 4 hoppers to the shortstop. Those are pretty devastating too.
And I always thought, that's just my opinion, leave the curveball to get to college and work it out. Throw a changeup. That's just. But there's one other name here, and I know I'm going to butcher this, so I'm going to leave
Nick Ortnow.
There you go.
Without even looking. Ortnow's a 3-sporter. He's a kid coming into his freshman year, played a lot of competitive baseball, but really, I think, fell in love with football too. He was our QB1 the past 2 years, and he's a point guard in basketball.
Oh, wow.
But he is probably the most competitive person that we have on our team. He just wants to win. So he'll go out there. He'll be probably our starting second baseman. And then he'll pitch in relief or a spot start here and there. But Nick kind of grew a lot last year, and now he's starting to put on the weight. And I saw him on Friday. He stepped in the cage, and the ball's jumping off the bat a little bit. So I'm looking forward to getting him out on the mound, because he was 83, 84 with nothing last year, and so I'm interested to see because he's put on about 15 pounds, but he's a dog. He gets after it.
So let's shift this to the defensive side. Get those 4-hop ground balls, right?
Hopefully we field them.
What are you seeing defensively from the out? And everybody usually works from the middle in. You have Aiden Hernandez behind the plate. Mm-hmm. Where does it move from there, Coach? Because Jaden Jones was your shortstop last year. Right?
So last year was such a weird year. We had Jay slotted at short, and he played the first half. And then Caleb Cheatham just worked and kept on improving. And one of the opportunities of playing on Saturday, those Saturday games, is you can get some of these guys in.
Sure.
Well, you show some success there, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, let's play them on it. And so by the end of the year, our starting lineup had guys in there that, we started a district championship, and Cheatham was at short, Klusner's in right. So we have these guys that we didn't expect a lot of production. They just earned their way, and that's part of our mentality at Central is when it's your time to do your job, you do your job. And Cheatham stepped in there, and he showed some smoothness, and he's got a little bit of range, and he makes the regular play, and that's all you ask for out of your up the middle is make the routines. And so he did a really good job. So he'll be at short for us. Jay actually started at third. We slid him back over to third. Right. Excuse me, where he's more comfortable. And he did a good job for us there, but we can replace him now with Wyatt, and so our infield should be okay. We're still trying to figure out who will play first, which will be probably Rubel and Aiden Adams a little bit. So when Rubel doesn't pitch, he can actually swing it a little bit. So
there you go.
He doesn't do it in summer ball. He does, but he's really athletic, and he's been in the cage with us, and he's pretty strong. And
those pitchers, they like to get their swings in, Coach.
Oh yeah, for sure. Some of them, depends. At this age now, if they don't have any success, they're like, I don't hit. So.
Oh man, I like the fact in center field. Who you got that guy there that's going to run everything?
Well, I think looking back last year, Ella was such a big deal for us because he threw it and he can go get it. And he had a really good year offensively. So this is the one that we're like, man, I hope, because it's big shoes, but we have a sophomore, Ethan Callison, who might be. I know Zumwalt East has a guy that can burn, but Ethan might give him a run for his money. In terms of speed, he can put him up there, and he'll be a 6'6", 6'7", 60 guy. Wow. But he was a little guy last year, real little, and he put on about 15 pounds. He went through a little growth spurt. So I'm interested to see how he looks really good in the cage, and we turned the velo up on the machine, and so whatever we can get out of him, he can go get a ball. So whatever we can get out of him. We're hoping that he can make that jump. And the jump for us, to be 16-year-old up to playing with 18-year-olds, there's a lot of failure involved. So
it's tougher than people think it is, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. And that's one of the things with high school that you see with the summer circuit is a lot of these kids come into high school thinking, oh, I'm just going to step in. Right. You're playing with men now. Yeah. And so, it's a rude awakening for some of these young guys who play, 15U ball or even 16U ball. That jump from 16U up to playing with the 18-year-olds is a big jump, and that's the biggest separator is the speed of the game, and can you catch up to the fastball? Can you make the adjustments and things like that? But he's got some tools,
and especially when you're talking about offensively, and we've kind of put that up, when you step into the GAC South. As we talked about, you get Adam Hatchman throwing 95. Good luck with that. And not to mention, I think he's this year, as far as I know, he's throwing. Mm-hmm. And he had a great showing at the
USA Games.
Yeah. Yep. And I think he was a little wild early, had trouble with the strike zone, but I think he's kind of found himself a little bit. Mm-hmm. So if he's throwing strikes, that's going to be
Well, I think a guy like that, if he's throwing strikes, you kind of just tip your hat and just move on to the next day. I mean, you're asking a high school kid to, this kid's coming out here bumping 95, 96. Oh, it's like,
all right, Coach.
I mean, This is one like the coach says, "What are you doing?" And the player just hands you the bat and says, "You go try." So, I mean,
I love it. I love the honesty. Okay, we will move on.
I mean, if he throws strikes and he's got his off speed, he's a first-round draft pick as a height. I mean,
yeah, and that's what you're. I get you.
Yeah,
and then but you have Yarberry the next day, and then but it's the same on the other side. I think when we talk about other teams, you got Rubel and then Harris, and then you got Naputi and whoever behind him. If it's Shipley, you're talking. Oh my goodness, it's just brutal. And you still had some guys who picked up, as you said, Cheatham, 321. He had 16 runs scored. Aiden Hernandez, 434, 315, 575, a home run, 34 RBI. If he can punch a couple more out of the park for you, that's huge there, Coach.
And with Aiden, he worked really hard. I'm so proud that he had that year offensively because his sophomore year he struggled, and that's really the jump that we talked about.
Yeah,
coming in from 16U up, now all of a sudden you're playing with the big boys, and so he had a great year. And it really does kind of he was our table setter there. And if we have the same year from him. But that's putting a lot of pressure on him. So we need other guys to step up for sure.
Yeah, and that's where Quentin Klusner, Wyatt Miller, both those guys had really good years last year with the bat, and those guys have to come in with that same mentality, ready to play.
Yeah,
right?
they. So Q's that's such a great story, and he didn't start. He hardly played at all for us at the beginning of the year. He was down in the depth chart, and we had a struggle. And I think we had lost 4 in a row. And I mean, I just went over and I said, "You're in next game." Yeah. And he took it, and I think that game he tied it up with a ball off the wall, and then he hit one that was a game winner. And it was just he earned his spot, and that was one that halfway through the year he's starting for the first time, and then district championship he's starting. In our district championship, and so he took that role and he just kind of ran with it, and he's such a good locker room guy. Like Aiden keeps him in line, and Q's right behind him, and Q's just he keeps everybody loose. You don't mess with him. You don't mess with Q either. So but that's what you need, those type of locker room guys that buy into the program and that they do their job. When he was the bench guy, he was doing his job, and when he went in to play, he did his job. And in the locker room, he's doing his job. It's just I think he bought into it. Aiden's bought into it. Cheatham has. They're just great kids. They're great guys to have around the program. I have half of them in class now. I mean, they're just awesome to be around because they've bought into what it is, and they've set their mark and saying, "Hey, this is what we want." It's such a cool thing to watch kids grow and become men. So,
who are some kids that you're looking at that may be coming up? I know you brought up the one sophomore and whatnot. Who's somebody that's on your radar, Coach?
So we have a couple seniors. Brian Forbes, who played, he kind of split with Q a little bit, and he had a run in the middle of the year last year where he could not get out, and it was barrel. So if he can find some consistency, he's a big, strong kid, left-handed hitter. He'll be in the outfield. If he can find some consistency and make some adjustments, I know he had a good year, his 17U summer ball. So hopefully he can carry that on. And again, that's another one that's just a great kid. So you just want those kids to succeed because they work hard.
Sure.
He's been there every open gym off the machine, finding barrels. So I'm expecting him to have a pretty good year. Aiden Adams is another senior. He didn't play much for us as a junior. We actually had him starting his junior year, like the beginning of the year, and he struggled a little bit, but just kept working, and he's worked this off season. So he should be able to help us out a little bit. But we have some juniors coming up through the JV. So hopefully we can see but again, it's so difficult, that jump from JV to a varsity.
Yeah.
Can they catch up with the speed of the game? And that's the biggest one is, that speed difference. And it's not just throwing, it's decision making. It's the ball gets on you faster. They hit the ball harder. They do throw it harder. You got to they run faster. So the mental clock that you have as an infielder has to speed up, which is why we struggle a lot at the beginning of the year. We put stopwatches on our infielders. And you got 4 seconds to make this play. And you see the struggle, but you have to have that internal clock, and so once they get the hang of that, I think that kind of slows everything down for them. But it's such a tough thing to do, is to catch up to that game speed.
It's learning how to be smooth, how to do it the right way, isn't it?
Yeah. We call it suave. We call it suave over in our program. So
right,
you got to if you're playing infield for me, you got to have that suave.
I love that.
So but the kids, you come to
smoother's faster.
Yes. Well, you come to a game like that, and you'll hear it from our bench.
I love that.
And it's something that we pride ourselves in.
Get some suave.
You got to have that suave.
I love that. We're gonna write that one down. Howell Central, the suave. I love that, Coach. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
You got a district championship under your belt. I know you go into every season with goals and whatnot. Growing your program. What's that next step, Coach?
We don't really. When we set our goals, I'm not big on like end of season. Like if we don't do this. Because ultimately you want to go as far as you can.
Sure.
But there's so many different things. We set little goals throughout the year. I know when we were kind of struggling a little bit, we said, all right, we're going to get to 20 wins. And we rattled off, I think, like 8 out of 9. Mm-hmm. And just little goals like that. Obviously, you want to win a district. You want to make it to the Final Four. And we were close. But my goals is just to see our kids continue to grow. Try to give them the best experience that you can as a high school program. We ask a lot out of our kids during the year for 8, 9, 10, 12 weeks, however long it goes, where they're coming in on Saturdays from 8 a.m. till whenever we're done, which is 2 p.m. We do weight, all that stuff. So you ask a lot out of these kids, and I feel like if you have goals that are determined on whether you win or lose, at the end of the year, if you don't achieve those goals, kids think that they failed, and that's not what it is. So we're just continuing to try to grow young men that can produce in society, and I know a lot of our guys are doing that. And I think Q's talking about going into the Marines and going off to college for some of these other ones. I don't even know how many college baseball players are going to be out of that senior class. They could all play, but that's not what it's about for us. For us, it's just we're building men that can contribute in society.
I love that. I'm hip. I dig that. I think that's because that aligns with the goals of what I built Youth Baseball Midwest, and why we do this. Perspective, values, and community. Mm-hmm. And
we're big on community at our because Howell Central is such a unique school because Cottleville is our home.
Yeah, it's
a small area that we're a big school, but it's almost like a small town. And we talk about we want to represent our community, and we feel like our community is kind of a blue collar, just that middle class community, and so we want guys to come out of here like that, that have that blue collar work ethic, that value community, that value family and things like that. So. That's what we put everything in. Like all of our time is about building those types of people.
That's awesome. And you got the guy in the place, Scott Harris.
Yeah, the OG, Scott. Right? Yeah. Everybody likes Scott. No, he's awesome. He really does. Even Lane's obviously a member, so he's really close with us. But I've been close with Scott now. I think he's been around for almost 10, 12 years, and this is my 17th year at Howell Central. So we've grown really close, and he really cares about high school sports and what it's all about. So you don't get a lot of ADs that put that much time and effort and then still have that relationship with you.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure.
Yeah,
I
for sure.
really enjoy having you on the show, Nick. I really do, man.
My pleasure.
I love it. I wish you guys success.
Thank you.
I know, I understand in whatever format goes.
Yeah,
That's
for
great.
sure.
And we're hope to be out, get you in a GAC game of the week. We got some stuff coming up.
There'll be some good ones.
There'll be some fun ones,
Yeah.
absolutely. So good luck to you this year. Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Everybody, Coach Nick Beckmann, Howell Central Spartans. If you want to watch a good ball game, go out Tuesday or Wednesday. There's going to be some really good baseball to check it out. As he said, come out, support the community, support the kids. It's always fun. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. We do appreciate it. If you like what we're doing, please, first time here, hit the subscribe button. And then right next to that is a dinger, because that's what we do around here. We hit dingers.
Yeah, boy.
And like it, share it out, comment, leave whatever you want to say there. We appreciate that. Everybody have a great day in the Lord. All you pitchers, keep throwing strikes, and hitters,
Find a barrel.
there you go. I love that one. We've had some
Put me
great
on the
ones,
spot
Coach.
there.
But you came up with it. Find a barrel. I love that. We'll see y'all next time.